will make the whole process more energizing for all of us. So let's do that. So let's take a few deep breaths, breathing in peace and stillness, breathing out everything else, just letting everything go. Letting go of the world, letting go of all the events and all the convolutions and manipulations and disinformations and everything else, just letting it all go. It's just a lot of noise on the channel. So focusing in our hearts, just feel a radiant sun of light and love in our hearts. And feel that love expanding, getting brighter and stronger, more and more radiant, filling our entire being with light and love and joy. Joy in being alive, in being a beautiful manifestation of the cosmic source from which we all emerge and arise into this world. As we make our contribution, learn, grow, and evolve, and continue to contribute to the increasing light everywhere in our families, our groups, in our state, in our nation, in the world, on planet Earth, within our solar system, and beyond to all the other great centers of civilization on the multitude of planets, infinite in number, that are holding and supporting our movement into higher consciousness and our ultimate journey into the stars and the higher worlds all around us, both inner and outer. Let us feel the joy of the song of the stars, of the angels, the song of all the higher beings who are witnessing, supporting, and assisting in this great evolutionary transition we are in the midst of, with all of its traumas, upheavals, and new ideas pouring in, new energies. Let us accept this is our world, our reality at this time and this moment. And it is indeed part of the cosmic plan to go through this tumultuous period so we may emerge into the light, into the beautiful new civilization we all hold in our hearts and minds that is gradually and steadily emerging regardless of whatever may be occurring on the outer worlds. Now let us contemplate the perfection of what is, the perfection of our evolutionary process, where each and every situation, individual, and decision is always turned ultimately to the light, to contribute to the progress and unfoldment of our consciousness, our evolution as humanity, and an expanding realization of our true place within the cosmos. And let us express our deep gratitude to all these higher beings and powers who are present with us always, and always working and guiding and supporting our evolution as divine beings, having this human experience to make this planet fully sacred and radiant with light. Okay. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Seemed pretty energizing to me. Amen, says Tom. Yes, indeed. And a women. So here we are, period in human history. Remember, we signed up for this. We chose to incarnate at a soul level. We chose to be here at this time on planet Earth. And we didn't expect to have a rose garden where we could hang out and smell the flowers and look at the butterflies. We expected to work and to create and to reorganize and rebuild and regenerate this planet. That's what we signed up for. And that's what's happening. So let's talk a little bit about this and where we are and what we're doing here, because it's always important to have a sense of purpose, a sense of clarity of what we're doing. So let us together surf the tsunami of significance and find what is really our place and our role in all of this amazing upheaval that's going on. All perspective and a vision of what is the overriding perspective of the higher forces as well as ourselves. So the first point is our work is for the future. This is our work. We are creating the future. Everything we see in the world around us today is the past. It's the results of past thoughts, choices, and actions. We're surrounded by a giant museum of old ideas and old thoughts. That's the world today. It's all the past, right? But right now, in this great, glorious now moment, we have the power to create the new world. That is our power. That is our potential. And that is what we are going to do and we are doing, is create that future that we all long for in our hearts, the vision that's getting clearer and clearer to millions and millions of people of where we want this world to be and what it want to be like for everyone. So we have this power. And our thoughts and feelings and visions are in fact creating that future. And whatever future we hold most powerfully as humanity and with all the higher beings assisting us will be the future which we will experience. This is spiritual law. We are creative beings. We have creative power just as the divine creator who created us has creative power, and that some degree of that power has been granted to us with our free will, and we are meant to use it to create the most beautiful future we can imagine. And that is what we're about here. So, and the more we hold this beautiful, powerful, high future for all of us, we are moving closer and closer to the consciousness and state of being of those great higher beings who are holding this for us and with us. And therefore, the future we choose to hold depends, the power of it, the quality of it depends on how close we are to that higher plan for our world. which is to become a sacred planet, completely irradiated with light and love, aligned with the higher purpose, aligned with the solar system and other solar systems, and completely flowing with energy and beauty and joy that is completely harmonic with the entire cosmic system. That's our future. And as I like to say, you can't fight City Hall. This is going to be our future. Now, we can fight and kick and scream against that current. It's like trying to say, I'm going to swim against the current and be isolated and nasty and mean and hateful, but you're fighting against the current, and you cannot win. It is never going to be possible to overcome the power and will of the higher being who holds this earth and all the other beings supporting it. And I'm talking about the Lord of the world, who we know as God, esoterically as Sanat Kumara. That being is the great presence within whom we live and move and have our being, along with the sacred divine mother who provides the substance and energy for all of this manifestation here on earth and even throughout the solar system and beyond. So here we are. We have to know who we are, where we are, when we are, and why we are. So let's explore that. Who we are small sparks, but bigger and bigger, growing bigger sparks of the divine with the same powers and abilities on our own level as that divine being who created us. We are also in a process of evolution, of moving all the energies and substance of our human selves into higher and higher octaves of energy, which move us into this great new way of functioning, which we call ascension or living in the fifth dimension. Many, many other names have been given to it. That's where we're moving. And we are in this process because we are moving out of what they call in the East Kali Yuga, the dark age that has gone on for very long cycles, and we are moving into Satya Yuga, the age of harmony, the age of balance, the age of beauty and joy. That is a cosmic fact which cannot be denied by anyone. And that is underway. So that is when we are. It's 5 minutes to Satya Yuga. No, 5 seconds to Satya Yuga. And that's what our time is right now. So we're moving in that, through that dark period where there's been all this control and all this things have happened that made our life on earth almost veritably a hell, is now coming to an end. And the rule of those dark powers is ending, and the lighted powers are moving into more and more influence and control. Now, I know that all of you are thinking at this very moment, well, how the heck can we get that with Donald Trump sitting in the presidency? And this is something we really want to talk about in some depth. We'll get into that in quite some depth in a moment. But I just want you to hold this all in a perspective that is seeing where we are, where we're going, and what is meant to happen in this period. Okay? So hopefully that's helpful. So now the first thing I want to talk about is that there is a great deal of evidence and coming up more and more now that the election itself was manipulated and hacked, and it is in process, and that is definitely being shown more and more truly. And I have an article that I'm going to put up on the offer, which is called the Palmer Report, and it will be, I'm putting it up now so you can look at the link for it. And Bill Palmer is a political analyst and journalist, very reputable, who has his own project called the News Bin. And he did a very extensive statistical analysis of what happened at the elections and all the results, which is a stunner. And I want you to take a look at that, and you can see it there. And it's going, and it also will be on our video. When we send out the video copy, you will get the link to this report also, and I'm also showing it to you here right now. So that's all there. And so what we're doing, first of all, the election was manipulated through counting the votes on the voting machines. This is not the first time this happened. It happened with the Gore-Bush election also. And it was done by those beings who basically, what they do is when the votes are compiled from many, many different districts, they all go into a particular computer system where they're compiled and added up, and then they give the totals. Well, if you can hack into those machines, you can manipulate vote totals. You don't have to manipulate all the local machines. You just manipulate when they come together and are totaled up. And that is what they did this and so they manipulated the elections. Now, there's a great deal of information about how this was done, and but the most important is that when you analyze this from the point of view of statistics, the anomalies that show up are just overwhelmingly convincing that, in fact, this thing was manipulated. I'll give you a couple of examples, and I urge you to read the whole article because it's really brilliant. And don't do it now, please, but you can read it later. And Ginger has put up the link for it, so you can see it. One of the things that showed up was there was a low voter turnout. Well, that makes no sense because this was one of the most hotly contested elections. It never would show up as a low turnout. And another thing that looks at really, really suspicious is that in the absentee balloting in Florida, for instance, Hillary was ahead between 54 and 59% in the early vote by absentee ballot. On the election day, in order for Trump to have caught up, he would have needed to win between 62 and 74% of the election day vote. But that's extraordinarily unlikely, given how close that race was. But he won the state by 1%. In all the other states, Pennsylvania, and what were the other ones? The Pennsylvania and Michigan and all the other key states where Hillary lost, Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, in the final tallies, she lost all of them by exactly 1%. And that is, according to Bill Palmer, who's an expert on this stuff, that is extraordinarily unlikely to ever happen. There would be variations. It would not all come out exactly 1%. And that's exactly what they did. They put in a 1% because they didn't want it to look suspicious, but they wanted to make it enough so he would win. And that's exactly what happened in those key states of Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. So there's another very, very suspicious thing that happened. The other thing is that in the primaries, the African-American and Hispanic voters voted overwhelmingly in huge numbers for Hillary in the primaries. But then in the actual election, the turnout was very, very low, supposedly, in those communities, the African-American and Hispanic community. And it was a really, really low number. It didn't make sense. They're all voting very enthusiastically for her in the primaries. And then when the major election comes, they just didn't show up. Makes no sense, especially for the Black community who knew, and the Hispanic community, that Trump is very much against them and has made that very clear. So that does not add up. And the other final thing is that when you average out the polls leading up to an election, when you take the averages of all the polls that are being taken all over in different states and different places in different ways, using them all as an average, that average of the polling has been absolutely correct every single election. except in 1948 when polling was not even really very real and wasn't very accurate. But since then, every election, that averaging of the polls has been correct in who would win the election. And in that averaging, Hillary would have won by a significant amount, but they're saying that those polls were all wrong and that somehow Trump won. It is not logical, it does not make sense, and there is no guarantee, reason that that's actually true. So here we have a lot of evidence. There's also evidence that there was excessive amount of trying to discourage people from voting with long lines and all these other things, and many, many things. Anyway, read the article. It will give you a different perspective on what actually happened. So that's a very important point. Now, I also received in my guidance that, in fact, that was true. That is what happened. And that is why, even though I had said Hillary was going to win, she did not win. It wasn't because we were wrong. It was that if it had been a fair election, she would have won, and she won the popular vote, of course. So she would have won the Electoral College as well. Now, there's many, many other dimensions, and Sherry's bringing up one of them. But you think we still created Trump being elected? Well, that's a very important point, and we'll get into this whole the consciousness aspect of all this. So okay, so there is all that going on, and now I'm only saying this because I want you to understand how easy it is to manipulate the voting system. What I've been told is until we go through the day of revelation where this kind of stuff will be eliminated and the people who perpetrate that will be eliminated, we will not have a fair voting system. But that's going to happen fairly soon. That is still on schedule, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Someone asked here, who's behind all this? Well, it is the operatives within the Republican Party, but also cabal influence. Yes, cabal is not completely gone by any means. The ET leaders of the cabal have been removed, but there are many, many people who still live according to all the way they manipulated the world and the systems, and they're still attempting to do that. And they were successful in this. And this was proven in previous elections. This is not new. This has happened before. So I know a lot about this because I know people who are on the inside investigating and are now, in fact, investigating all of these anomalies and will make statements to the press as soon as they have enough evidence to make a very powerful statement about it, about the voting machines and about the manipulation. So that's in process. So, and it doesn't matter because they will not be able to stop the development and unfoldment of the new civilization. And so we're going to look at this whole thing in a new way and see what we can learn about what to expect. So as this information begins to come out about the voting system and what happened, I'm not saying you need to do this right now, but as more and more proof comes out, then it's important for us to take action to disseminate that information and let people know about it. We don't need to go into anger or frustration about how the system has been manipulated. I mean, yes, it's discouraging in a certain way, but believe me, you cannot stop this process of what is unfolding on the planet by simple little manipulations. It's not going to work. Okay, so we'll talk a lot more about this. This was a setback, no doubt, but it was not a absolute total setback. And I'm going to read you what the ashram, what the Light Alliance and the ashram is saying about this whole situation that we now find ourselves in. Okay, so here it is. First of all, I asked, is there going to be any breakdown of the financial system because of the debt, the sovereign debt of many, many countries? And that is really not going to be allowed to happen. We are not going to have a breakdown of our financial system. The Light Alliance is working very, very intensively to actually prevent that from occurring, and it will not occur, even though there is great debt on the part of countries, and which is called sovereign debt. But that will not be allowed to create a collapse of the system. So what they asked me to tell you is this: all is not lost, and we are very actively engaged with the new conditions, and all will be clarified with the day of revelation. So maintain hope and vision for the beautiful, lighted future we all are co-creating together. Optimism and clear vision of the world we intend and expect. We are surrounding you with our love and light and support always. So that's what I got about the whole current situation. I got a lot more too, and I'll get to it in a moment. So that is what we are now dealing with. Okay, so let's just take a couple of these questions because I think they're not, it's important to deal with these. So yeah, all right, the questions are, yes, there's a lot said here about Trump is a manifestation of our inner being and our inner reality. And I think that's true to a degree. But you have to understand, Hillary was actually the manifestation. See, we have to get this concept straight in our minds. She won. She won the popular vote. The vote was manipulated so that the Electoral College went to Trump, but she won. She is the manifestation of our collective inner state. Yes, I fully and totally agree that we need to clean up and work on our inner state as powerfully and fully as we can every moment. It's very, very important to keep doing that. That is absolute. And we have to understand what we're really looking at here is an illusion that's been projected by the manipulation of the system. Now, there is also the reality that we are going to create the future as it unfolds. And we will be creating that as we go forward. Now, let's talk about Trump in some different ways. The first way is that there is a way of seeing him as a collective manifestation of the ego, of the self-centered, fearful, publicity-seeking, insecure ego who needs all this feedback and supposedly support and fame and adulation in order to feel okay. He is a manifestation of that aspect of our national consciousness. That is certainly the case. It's true. So, and someone suggested we see him as our spiritual teacher because he's playing it out at such an extreme level with such degree of absolute crazy exaggeration that we all get to see what is there in our own, if it is in our own consciousness, and certainly in some areas of our own national consciousness. That pattern is present. So we have to recognize that and take that as a teaching for us to learn as we see him go through this process and what's going on and all the mess he's created already. And he's only gotten started. He hasn't even inaugurated yet. He's already created massive mess with China and more to come, I'm sure. That is part of what the ego creates. It doesn't create from higher consciousness. That's the way it looks. So now, there's several other dimensions going on here that you need to know about. The first thing is the higher beings do not just sit back and allow, anything to happen on this planet. And I want to read you something that is also extremely interesting. This is from the master Ivanov, Omar Mikhail Ivanov, who was the Bulgarian master who lived on Earth in the 40s. He was a brilliant man. He did incredible things. He was one of the main teachers for Europe for a very long time. And he, in the 40s, about what the actual degree of power that world leaders have or do not have. Okay, so just take this in for a moment. The destiny of our country, of a country, is not in the hands of politicians, however powerful they may be. They might for a time delude themselves and delude others that this is so, but not for very long. All those who imagined they held the fate of peoples in their hands and that they could do with them as they wished came to a sticky end. I like that. For it is not human beings, however powerful, who direct the destiny of humanity, but higher entities who observe and intervene. But we also know we have to use our free will. I'm not saying that they're going to do everything and going to save us, but there is a co-creative relationship. There are intelligences in the universe, forces whose intentions often elude us. We don't see them. We don't understand their intentions. We don't understand the intention of the universe to move us forward in a positive direction. Now, I'm saying that. Now, here's the quote again. Thus, even very powerful secret societies that thought they were going to rule the world weren't able to do so, and most of them were brought down. Whereas the ideal of those who put themselves in service to the Lord, who wish to carry out his plans, never disappeared, even if they were often trampled underfoot and massacred. And this ideal has never disappeared, for God's plans are always for humanity's freedom, fulfillment, and salvation. So I think that's very interesting to just contemplate that there was someone there who was aware of all this, was trying to help people understand that there are higher beings helping us and assisting us, which is one of my primary messages, along with that we have the power through our own consciousness to change things. That is a really definite reality. Okay. Okay. All right. So okay, now.
Questions.
Okay, I'm going to respond to some of these questions. All right. Yes. Trump is the Antichrist. Well, it depends on how you define the Antichrist, but certainly he is not oriented towards the Christed approach to living and the future of our world. However, and I will get to these questions in a moment, Emily, and yours and others. One of the things that we need to understand is that whenever a situation like this arises where you have someone who is not aligned with a higher plan, the higher powers do not just sit there and say, oh, I wish it had gone differently. No, what they do is they begin interacting with that individual to see if they can achieve one of the most powerful victories that can be achieved by the light over the dark, and that is to turn that individual to the light. Turn them away from the dark side towards a lighted vision and a lighted way of being and acting. The spiritual powers are really engaged with Trump right now. And I've been told they have definitely appeared to him in the physical and are communicating with him. This is more recent. So some of the early appointments he made were really completely awful. But some of the other ones, they keep saying, wait until you see the final result. Because one of the things that's clear is one of the areas that has been relatively clear about what the cabal is and its interference in human life and in American life is the military. Even though they have done things we don't fully agree with, much of the military is aware of the cabal and the way it has functioned. So they're pulling in people from the military. Not all of them are probably perfect. I don't want to try to defend every appointment he's making, because I don't. But there is a process underway of working to try to turn Trump towards a more lighted approach and a lighted understanding through direct interaction with him. And there he is, holed up in Trump Tower, and we don't know what's going on inside that tower and who he's talking to. But what I'm getting is he is talking to higher beings. That's what I keep getting. So
he has free will to choose.
And of course, he has free will to decide what he's going to do. And the choices that he makes himself will determine his future. And this has been made clear to him. If he chooses to go down a very dark and hateful, divisive path, he will not make it through the day of revelation. That's what he's being told. That's what I'm told. I'm doing my best to be as accurate as I can be. I'm not perfect, but this is what I'm getting right now. So you can take it or leave it, do what you like with it, but that's what I'm being told. That doesn't mean he's going to turn into a saint overnight or anything like that. But what I'm saying is there are forces at work here that we don't know about that are actually definitely beginning to have an impact on this, on him and on what happens in the world. So, and of course, we all have to use our free will to move us forward in the direction we want to go, which is why I constantly emphasize that we have to visualize, hold the most positive futures we can imagine, see that as real, as happening, and that nothing else is really going to be what our future is. So let's talk about this thing about the timelines, because I hear about this a lot from a lot of people. Now, all this stuff about the Archon and reptilian grids and keeping humanity enslaved, I'm sorry, but what I am getting does not correlate with this whole scenario. And I just don't get that that's what's happening any longer. Yes, when the dark ETs were here and we were managing all these systems, yes, that was present, no doubt. But with the removal of all of the ET ones, we still have the human ones. Those grids and all those kind of systems have been seriously degraded and broken down. They are nowhere near what they were before, if at all. So, and there are no reptilians on the planet. See, this is where there's certain people out there who are still promoting this whole story that the Archons and the reptilians are there and there's a battle going on, blah, blah, blah. I've read it all. I don't get that. It's just me. You can take it or leave it, whatever you decide you want to follow. But I'm not getting that that's still the case. After 9/11, when the decree was issued to allow the Light Alliance to remove all those types of interference, they did so, and they are no longer present. Yes, we still have humans who work with them and are still perpetrating those kind of policies and ideas, but the deep, deep power of the dark side has been greatly reduced and nearly eliminated. So this is a crucial understanding that people need to get. And all you can do is take my word for it. But look at the evidence. Look at the way the things are breaking down on the control side. I don't see it any longer in the way it was. All these inventors of free energy are coming forward because they know that control is lessening. There are lots of other ways it's showing up in the financial system with the creation of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, on and on and on. But we don't need to keep going into this too much. But that's my view. Those grids did exist, but they are highly degraded at this point. Now, people are talking about Pizzagate, which I haven't a clue what Pizzagate is. So if someone would like to give me a little synopsis on the chat about what that is, I might be able to respond to it, but I don't know what Pizzagate means. So thank you. Yeah, and then people are saying that Trump is working with the Chinese elders and facilitating the currency reset. I have not heard that directly. I haven't really asked that question, but I have been told very clearly that the reset is underway. The work is being done to facilitate it to take place before the day of revelation. That is the plan, and that is what they're working towards. So that is in play right now. So, there's so many other levels going on, and my God, one of the things that has become crystal clear to more and more people after this whole cycle of insanity, which we called an election, was how distorted the information on the internet actually is. Did you know, and this was on CNN now, they made a statement that Russia has bots. These are little computerized little bots that go on the internet, and they can be programmed to do whatever you want them to do. And what they did was they programmed them to retweet, which tweets are where a lot of the young people get their information. They were programmed to retweet every single negative Hillary to the internet, everywhere, all over the place. And they said there were 270 million retweets from these bots during the election period. And they were originated from the Russians because they did not want Hillary to be the president, because they thought Trump would be more manipulatable and easier to deal with. And all this nonsense that Hillary was going to start a war with Russia and blah, blah, blah. All this is complete disinformation, was widely recirculated. So that's one element of what happened here, is the way the internet can be manipulated. And now they're starting to look at all the websites that are just putting out total garbage, false information, and saying, well, this is all not real news and we have to do something about it. And they're talking about rating websites based on their truthful fact-checking and seeing what's true. This is really good. This is really important and needs to be done. Yeah, okay. All right. There's a definition of Pizzagate. I haven't really looked into this one, but my first response to it is highly skeptical, because it's the kind of thing that has been put out by the remaining members of the cabal about the Clintons, about the whole current government and Obama and everything else, that the most evil, ghastly possible behaviors you could ever imagine that have taken hold and have been accepted by lots and lots of people as real. I don't know exactly if any of it is true, but overall, the feedback I've gotten when I've asked about this is it's not fundamentally true. They are not fundamentally totally corrupted people. Now, one of the interesting things that has been predicted about, this is not through me, this is through another teaching called Agni Yoga. It's been predicted that at the end of Kali Yuga, everyone of the light will be severely attacked, slandered, painted in the most evil light you can possibly imagine. And then as we enter into Satya Yuga, the next cycle of positive, becoming the fundamental core energy, that those who have been taken down to the lowest level in public opinion who will be lifted up and shown to be of the light. That's what's been stated about a lot of what's going on here. So who knows? I can't say for sure. That's not my guidance. That's just something else I read. But I think it's very, very likely that that's true. So, all right. So now, all right. Obama and Clinton pumps of Soros. No, I mean, people are saying, was that a question?
Yeah.
Okay. People asked if Obama and Clinton were puppets of Soros. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so at all. I just think that that's, I mean, come on, folks. If you read the internet and you believe, give much credence to those kind of accusations, with no, almost always no evidence, just accusations, statements, assertions that don't have any basis in fact. They don't give you any facts. They don't give you any reasons to believe any of this stuff. And then people just swallow it whole and say, oh, yes, this is what's going on. I'm sorry, but that's not to swallow this garbage whole is not the response of an intelligent, rational human being. You need to do your research. It's hard work. It means it's difficult, takes time, it's a hassle. But at least don't swallow it whole unless you do some research to back it up. And people will also come out with all kinds of research that sounds very convincing, which is also complete false, evil misinformation. So it's very complex, and it's not an easy thing to understand. The only reason I can sit here and tell you what I feel is true is because I am getting it from a source that I have proven through my 20 years of contact is relatively reliable and will not mislead and will not give false information. Does not happen, you know? And even when the thing with Hillary lost, we thought we were wrong. No, she won. But the whole system that's been put in place blocked her from actually becoming president. And now some people are celebrating that fact and think that Hillary is so evil, it's wonderful that Donald's president. But believe me, Donald becoming president is not going to create an easy road for this country in the future. That is already, if you're paying attention at all, crystal clear with his blunders in foreign policy, the kinds of people he's appointing. And I know that the Light Alliance is working very hard to try to turn him towards being more moderate, more intelligent, and more lighted. They said, we have to see how that turns out. We don't yet have a clear understanding of whether that effort to turn him is going to be successful or not. So I want to be really clear about this, okay? Okay. Someone asked, will the recounts actually change anything? I don't think so. Because in order for that to happen, you would have to have someone annul the election, and then you would have to have some kind of new vote somewhere, somehow. And I think that the effort to get that accomplished is really beyond the scope of what anyone is able to do right now with the way the forces are arrayed in the world. However, what it will accomplish is it will, and this is why they're so terrified, the Republicans are so terrified of this recount. And Trump's going nuts about it, you know, saying it's sham, it's blah, 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 blah. Because they know if they really get in there and start investigating with the ballots, what actually was voted and then what the machine showed, they're going to find stuff. They're going to find big discrepancies. What are they going to do about that? So, and I know that they're trying to block this whole recount. So I don't know if that's going to come about, but I doubt if it will change who occupies the White House at the moment. However, I will remind you, as I've said many times, we are still, the day of revelation has not been canceled. There is no vote on the day of revelation. It is a cosmic event that is being carried forward by the alignment of powers far beyond the ability of anyone on earth to affect. And that is still, as far as everything I know, is in place and is going forward, which means that within 3 to 5 months of the inauguration, that will occur. That's what I'm getting. So if I'm wrong, well, then I'm wrong, and who knows what I'll do after that, but I don't think so. And that is likely to occur. And we'll see. You know, that's my view. That's what I'm receiving very, very clearly. I've been asking very regularly about this ongoing. The chances of that occurring are very, very high, according to everything I can receive. But, you know, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm infallible, but that's my view. So if that's true, then we don't have anything to worry about, because anyone who's got a negative, evil, unloving attitude and focus in their consciousness and their being will no longer be able to do anything to harm this planet or humanity. That is what the result would be of the day of revelation. So that's the way I see it. Now, oh, I love John Mark's. Thank you. That's so beautiful. Warning, this is not for casual listening, but your soul will dance with recognition. Stop blaming, start loving. God bless John Mark. That is beautiful. I love it. It so resonates with where I feel we are in this whole thing. Ho'oponopono. Yes, Ho'oponopono is also very beautiful and a very beautiful, powerful technique that I highly recommend, and you can check into it and really work with that.
It's about forgiveness by the Hawaiians.
Yeah, it's all about forgiveness and learning how to dissolve hatred and blocked and locked up situations so that the energy can be freed up, and that will also help to change the way things are. Yeah, I already sort of addressed this. Is Trump addressing the financial reset? I haven't checked into that specific question, but I am getting that the reset is being worked on. I will find out if Trump is involved in that and supporting that. My guess is he probably is, but I don't know for sure. I will check into that. Okay, why is Obama not doing anything about the water protectors at Standing Rock? I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I don't have an answer for you on that one. You know, it's so hard for us to understand all of the factors that are at play when you are in a position to make decisions like this one about what Obama could do. And I don't know if it's because he feels he doesn't have the right to do this at this point because he's a lame duck, or that it would be so controversial, it would just cause more upheaval. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I can look into it and let you know what I find out next time. I will. But at this point, I don't have an answer for that. You know, it is very important that we support them, and I think they're doing beautiful work and helping to bring all of this to the attention of the public. And they are extraordinarily courageous and beautiful people doing this work. And I really, really support them in my prayers and thinking about them often. And I think we all can do that. Okay, the question has arisen here. Will those be taken off the planet all die simultaneously on the day of revelation? And I would say, I've talked about this a lot before, that they will be, some people will die at that time. Bodies will not be able to accept well, their bodies will not be able to handle the degree of intensity of positive light, love, energy pouring in at that time, and they just will not be able to remain. It will just overwhelm their systems, and they will completely not be functional. Now, exactly how that's going to look, I assume that some of them will die. I've also been told that many of them will be taken into other dimensions where they will be able to continue their lives as they've known them, as if nothing has happened, live out that life, and then once that life is completed, they will move into other dimensions and other incarnations on other systems where the frequency of the vibration of those places matches their own. That's what I've been told. So there's a lot going on. Is there any unusual cosmic changes in our solar system? There is generally been, and I haven't tracked this closely lately, an increase in the vibrational frequency of the entire solar system and all the planets in it. That has been measured. And the energy flowing between the planets has been increasing steadily for quite some time. So that is also going on. So and it's an indicator, along with the Schumann resonance frequency rising, that the solar system is moving into higher and higher levels of energy. And this is a scientific measurement that has been recorded and written and talked about a lot. So there is definitely an increase of energy in the solar system. As far as astronomical changes, well, I know there's all kinds of stories out there about all these different planets that are going to come into the solar system and do this and do that. I don't buy any of that. Although there was a time when there was this tremendous, I'm just going to touch on this very briefly. I could go on about this for a long time. A planet that was destroyed in our solar system called Maldek. Some of you may have heard of it. And it was blown to pieces because they tried to transmit energy from Earth through the pyramid to that planet, and it blew up the planet. And the current asteroid belt is the remains of that planet Maldek. And it caused tremendous upheaval in the solar system, and huge things happened in all the civilizations on all the planets, and it was a major, major thing. And I can give you references if you're interested in reading more about that, but it was a very huge thing. But that is not on the table for what's going to happen now. Okay. Right. Okay. Day of Revelation, a couple months after the election. Okay, folks, you have to have a little bit of leeway. I mean, couple of months doesn't say it's going to happen in 2.3 months. A couple of months is a couple of months. Well, we're now talking about 3 to 5 months from the inauguration. It's not that different. So just realize that exact, precise predictions about things like this are very, very unlikely. They just don't happen that way. Just think of all the cosmic factors that come into the equation of when something is actually able to occur. And, you know, other planets, other systems, other changes that the higher beings didn't realize or know were going to happen. You know, they're not omniscient. There are times when they don't see everything that's there. So that's what we're working with. But right now, the best I can give you, and I pray and hope and do everything I possibly can to be as accurate as possible, is 3 to 5 months from inauguration, we will see something major, huge. That's what I'm getting right now. So let's hope that's true. They've been their prediction since before the election. It hasn't changed. And I think this has to do with cosmic timing, with things that are going on in the whole larger solar systems and all the 7 solar systems coming into alignment. That's what's really the cause, as I've said. I don't know what, Jean-Marc, your last comment, I'm not sure what you're referring to when you say it was given. I'm not sure what the it is that you're referring to. Anyway, you can clarify that. So let's just talk about the current situation a little more in depth. So I think for all of us activists, the keynote for our times is, if they give you lemons, make lemonade. And that's what we're needing to do right now, is to make lemonade out of this mess. And that's what we all should be thinking about. So let's talk about Trump and his karma. Now, Trump has a lot of karma from the nasty stuff that he's done in the past. I asked them whether that karma would come in and affect the United States. They said, no, not his karma directly. That's his issue. But the attitudes and values that created the karma would be an influence on the country. And we can see that that's there, because we're already seeing people becoming more anti-minorities and all these horrible things that are happening. Racist and all this stuff happening. But the key task for us, and many people have commented on this in the most beautiful way on the internet, and there is a lot of good on the internet as well, is it's up to us to be as loving, compassionate, and understanding of other people who are different from us, even people who support Trump, than as much as we possibly can in order to offset and balance and not allow this hatred and division to become a pattern within the American consciousness. We don't want that. And that is really important, not to give in to that and fall into those patterns. And I notice it's in the field. They're getting, more antagonistic towards minorities. It's there. I see it. I can see it around. So we need to make sure we don't do that. That we make sure as soon as we notice it coming up, realize this is part of the darkness that's permeating the American field. We don't have to be part of it, and we don't have to give voice to it. That's the key. We have a choice. That's using our freedom, our free will to create the world we want, which is loving, kind, compassionate, and understanding. It doesn't mean that we give evil doing a free pass and say, oh, okay, yeah, you can do that. Well, I don't care. I'm compassionate. I don't care. No, we will bring that to people's attention. And here's what they had to say about that. So I'll get to that in a moment. We need to practice dispassion and focus instead on creating the world we want. So, dispassion means we may be upset. We may be disappointed, sorrowful. Many, many things are going on. And, but it doesn't serve us or the world to get into those emotions because it just amplifies those frequencies. That's what it does. Makes more of them. We don't want to do that, do we? And so we need to make the right choices of what we think and put out into the world. So this is all very important. Yeah, I saw that. I'll get to it. The issue of disclosure, we'll get to that in a moment. So we have to also remember how we see Donald Trump is part of how he's going to turn out. I mean, he's a better clay. He can be molded and shaped and directed. Despite all of his statements and all of his bluster and all of his nonsense, he still is a human being who can be affected and changed. He is not, I don't believe he's fixed in stone, and that's what I'm getting is he is possible to be turned towards the light. So it's very important that we, in our attitudes towards him, do not hold him as being horrendous, the Antichrist, all the rest. Yes, I mean, you can make that case. I certainly understand why you would, but that is not really helping the situation. The question is, what can we do as lighted, conscious beings, light workers, to help the situation, not make it worse? That's all that really matters. How can we help turn this around? And that's what I am getting we should be doing. And he is being influenced by members of the Light Alliance. That's what I keep getting. Other people have gotten this too and said this to me, that they heard their contacts are saying the masters are going to appear to him or have appeared to him and are talking to him. And he respects that kind of power. Obviously, if they can appear, they are at a level of power that he cannot understand or know, and therefore probably gets his attention. Can you imagine? Okay? Somebody shows up in Trump Tower and says, hey, Don, you're making a big mistake here. Here's what you can do to really be a great, loved, historically wonderful president. Here it is. Here's the game plan. See what happens. We don't know how that's going and all that. Help Timothy Trump paint his planes in Timothy Leary colors. That's an interesting thought. All right, nice humor there. I like that, Tom. Right now, huge UFO sightings in Turkey being censored by Facebook and Twitter. Let me just say again, as I've said many times, there are no negative ET craft in or ETs on our planet or craft around this planet that are negative. They are being completely blocked by the Light Alliance. There is no negative interference at that level on this planet around it. So this is the idea that I haven't even heard about this UFO sightings over Turkey. So I can check into it, but I don't, are you writing down the things I'm supposed to check into? Yeah, I will check into that and let you know when I come up with, but I
He's
haven't.
asking if they're ours or friendly.
Yeah, friendly galactic supporters. I would definitely say if they are galactic, they are definitely friendly, because there's no other kind right now. So you don't have to worry about that. So our goal, okay, here's the real point. Here's where we really are getting tested. This is the spiritual test that we're all in the middle of, right? Can you, in the middle of this apparent horrible situation, which is really not as horrible as many people think it is, but let's just assume it's not, obviously not the ideal, can we and you and all of us in this condition actually hold a point of consciousness that is joyful and positive and optimistic, and continue to carry that forward despite all the conditions around us and all the crazy nonsense going on, the kinds of people are being appointed to these positions, etc., etc. In order to be able to do this, you have to be able to feel in your heart that there are actually the higher reality, the cosmos, God, the creator, you are connected to that. You are that. That is indeed what keeps you going through all of whatever may happen. And here's the ultimate free pass, get out of jail free card, which is, even if you no longer exist on this plane, you're just going to a change of address. What's the problem? You don't have to worry about all that. We are all going to be okay no matter where we wind up. And I'm not saying that any of you in this call are going to go anywhere other than be on this planet and continue to serve and create the future we are all building in our consciousness. That's where we're all going and where we are. The thing is to make it real so that it is in fact your reality now. As we say on our website, live the future now. We don't have to wait for some event. We only have to open our consciousness and allow it to be present with us here in this moment. That's freedom. I hope you can really grasp that. That is really key. So it eliminates fear. And fear is the big thing that is being used to manipulate people into all kinds of horrible attitudes and values and actions, right? There is no fear. There's going to be no nuclear war on this planet, period. That, nada, zero. Never happened. That is the promise from the Solar Council. I believe it totally and completely. We haven't had one up to now, and we're not going to have one in the future. And there's been many attempts to try to do that, and they've all been stopped. No nuclear war. Take that worry off your plate. Okay? There's not going to be any financial collapse either. Take that one off your plate. Okay? Anyone who is not loving and kind and sees and working for the highest good of humanity is not going to be here on this planet. Take that one off your plate. The worry plate is pretty much empty at that point. Your financial well-being, not to worry. Just allow the love and the light of the cosmos to flow through you, and you will always have everything you need to be taken care of, love, and live a beautiful life. Does that resonate with people? Let me see some comments here. Is this resonating? Am I wasting my time or what? On the chat. Because this is the key to everything. This is the key to all of it, and to how you can actually manage and be in this space, in this ongoing cycle of challenge and difficulty. Yes, it's challenge and difficulty. We signed up for this. And I know many of you are probably doing this. Great. God bless. Keep it up. You're doing great. And that is really what we need to do all the time. And that's part of the purpose of this broadcast, is to give you the perspectives and the energy and the inspiration to be able to continue doing this regardless of whatever might happen in the world. And I am really, really convinced that we are moving into a time that is of unbelievable joy and possibilities and creativity for all humanity And the conditions that have prevailed on this planet for so long are rapidly being mitigated and ultimately will be eliminated. Okay, the military was aligned with the Light Alliance and would remove cabal members from the government. Good. Yeah, this is a question someone asked. Yes, it is happening. And this is where we have to keep an open mind. Okay, suppose that many of us have had a very negative view of the military because the military has done things that we do not agree with, and I agree with that. There are things it has done. And there has been a steady infusion of light and information to the military to actually help them understand what's really been going on, what is the cabal, what its plans were, and they have chosen to align with the Light Alliance. That is a fact. Now, it's very interesting that Trump is choosing a fairly large number of people from the military who are, because the military is one place where they understand the cabal and they understood what it was doing and they are against it totally. And I checked on the new Secretary of Defense, I forget his name, and he is also very, very aware of the whole cabal situation, and that is why he's been chosen. So
cabal bombed the Pentagon in 2001.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I was just reading the question. Sorry. Okay. Well, you guys really have a lot of questions. I haven't seen. I'm not really following closely Italy's vote tomorrow. Sorry, it's a big world. There's a lot of issues to track, and I can't keep track of everything. But yes, there is a movement, and some of the nationalism that's showing up and all that is the reaction to the excessive control the EU was putting on countries and people that was way out of whack, and that really needed to be addressed. And that's what people are reacting to and voting against it. Even though the EU as a concept of unification of those countries is a good and useful concept, it's synthesizing energies and brings benefit when you synthesize. But if those systems are controlled by the dark side, by the cabal, as they have been until recently, then of course they're going to cause problems and people are going to resent them and they're going to try to get rid of them. And so that there's all this whole cycle of, yes, and this is just what's showing up as a reaction. Remember, everything happening now is the past. So people are reacting to what's happened in the past with the EU, and they don't want any more of that kind of control, so they're going against it, and they're trying to change that whole pattern. But it does not have to be that way. When will the NSA exposures happen? I'm not sure what you mean by the NSA. Or I guess you probably mean disclosures about UFOs. Okay, as the fundamental plan that I've shared with you all along, but some of you may not have been with me then, is that the plan is that the sequence is as follows. We have the preparation and period and for the day of revelation, which we're in the middle of right now, and we'll continue, and people will get a chance to make their choice of whether they are going to align with love and that energy, or they're going to align with fear and hate, division and racism and all that other choice. People make that choice, and on the day of revelation, that choice will lead them or move them into a location in consciousness and in reality that reflects the vibrational frequency of where they are in making those choices. That's the period we're in. We're still in this choice period. Once we go, then we will go through the day of revelation. I call it the cosmic sort button. Everybody will get sorted based on their frequency and will live in places where they are surrounded by the energies they have within them, Earth will move up in frequency. There will be fifth dimensional consciousness. People will begin to experience directly unity consciousness. That means they will know we are one. It will be an experience. It won't be a theory or a concept. It will be, you're walking around and you realize, oh my God, I am really connected to every single being on this planet. I am all part of this one. And I am also myself and unique. I am a unique expression of the one. And that is the most wonderful, beautiful thing could possibly be. What's more than that? And I can create in harmony and joy and love with, co-create with all those other beings who understand that we are one. And that just becomes I mean, this period coming up is going to make the Renaissance look like the prehistoric times. Believe me, the stuff that we are going to create and invent and the things that we are going to do for each other and for the world and for nature is going to be so magnificent that we can't even begin to conceptualize it. But it is going to happen. That is our future. And so that is coming. And so, yeah, can we get on with it? But I really think this is important. I hope this is useful to you. So we are in the middle of having complete, we're still in the choice period. We're going to go through the day of revelation. Then we're going to move into fifth dimensional consciousness. There will be a renaissance of work, of creativity. We will take care of the security, food, shelter, clothing, healthcare for every single human being on earth who's incarnated as a top priority. It will be done. It may take a year or two. And then after that, we will have full disclosure. And after that, we will have the full appearance of the great teachers on earth. So that's, I don't have anything particular about Jesus as a galactic other than he was a representative of Sirius, and that his energetic and his whole being was Sirian energy. That's what he represents.
He's a human.
But he was born as a human, but his connection, his energy, his whole being was definitely a transmission of Sirian energy to humanity. So I think that's very significant. So let's go on with, so we're all going to be doing this wonderful co-creation and making our fulfillment. Now, one of the things that's going to happen that's interesting when we have the people may not have thought of is when we have the day of revelation, there's going to be a lot of personnel not running systems, and there's going to be there's going to be a gap in enough people to run everything, keep this whole game going, because people will be very engaged for a while and initially in exploring the new realms of consciousness that's going to be open to them, and they'll be less interested in doing regular day-to-day routine work. Just think about that. That'll be very interesting, but not very long. Then as the love, this is what I'm getting. This is a direct transmission. Then as the love and the unity permeates our consciousness, people will be willing to do the work they've done before as a service to the whole, but not primarily to earn a living, as this will already be provided. Earning a living will not be the motivation. And we'll do it, people will do it because it will bring them joy and fulfillment in making their contribution to the well-being of all life. And every contribution and every person, individual, will be honored, valued, and respected for what they are contributing to the whole. Everyone from trash collectors to artists to CEOs to mechanics, everyone will be seen in this light of this is their contribution to the smooth functioning of the whole system. A different world than what we have today, is it not? So, food, housing, healthcare will be distributed according to the need, and rewards will still be given for outstanding contributions, but it won't be working for rewards. But distorted rewards for owning capital, playing sports, or collecting money for false religious teachings, and many, many other things will be eliminated. Evil doing and corruption will not be possible, because all those people who with those energies will no longer be present. Everything will be seen as either dark or light energy within people's energetic fields. So nothing can be hidden from the view of all. So with fifth dimensional consciousness, each person's motives, deeds, feelings, thoughts, and actions will be completely transparent. Can you imagine? We're going to have a new psychology. It'll be called transparent psychology. All you have to do is look and you know exactly what's going on with yourself and everyone else. Yeah, so there we go. This transparency will apply to those who have passed the test of love as the basis of their motives and worldview, and everything will be visible. So now, let's imagine for a moment that we are in the fifth dimensional consciousness. It's not so hard to do. We're in a loving group. We have a beautiful love energy field here. We're all feeling uplifted and joyful and having a good time, I hope. So the questions that people will be asking themselves, and we can ask ourselves, and I'll send this to you, is to evaluate your daily life and how you are interacting with yourself and the world and everything else. So here are some questions, and I'll get these posted for you. Are my thoughts loving, uplifting, and inspiring, and creating no harm? Have I been able to maintain a loving energy field and include within it all those I contact every day? In other words, do I include people in my loving energy field? Or do I create separation? If I haven't done this, what has caused me to not do that, not include others in my energy field? Have my choices and actions today radiated love to all those they affect? My choices and actions, have they been based on love? If not, what are better actions and choices that I can make in the future? So we look at what may or may not have been present, and we see how we could do it better in the future. And then the final question is, how can I use my meditations and daily thought to amplify and radiate the love within my heart and mind more fully and powerfully into the world energy field? So those are some of the questions that will be very useful to consider in evaluating how you're doing in making your contribution to this new reality. So I'm going to, all right. Okay, so Queen's reminding me of some important points, but I want to just address these questions. Will etheric vision and psychic powers be normal with the fifth dimensional consciousness? For many people, not everyone, but many people will actually have etheric vision and psychic powers if your motivations are worthy. You know, there's a fail-safe built into psychic powers, and you can do some mischief with psychic powers up to a point. But if it becomes a significant issue in the world, or even with others, you will lose your psychic powers. That's a fail-safe mechanism built in. So, you know, it's those who can use it wisely and well will have those kind of powers, yes. All right, now here's a question. It seems the incoming energy to Earth has increased dramatically after the election, causing a lot of pressure on the nervous system. Do you have the same experience? I certainly do. And yes, that, as I said earlier, we went through that gate, that doorway of choice, which was the election. And although it didn't turn out the way many were hoping, and the way even some of the higher powers were hoping, that we went through that choice. And we now, because that choice was necessary to clarify who stands where. in vibrational frequency, right? So we've made a shift. We've moved into this new frequency where we're all assessing our positions and where we're going to go and what we're going to do and how we're going to respond to this crisis. That's now established. So then we begin now the process of moving upwards into the day of revelation. It's not going to be like overnight all at once, although there will be a certain point where it really is clear, but it will be a buildup of energies over the next months as we get closer and closer to that time. Because of course, the higher powers always want to make these transitions and these experiences as harmonious and viable and smooth as can be done under the circumstances. And it's not always possible to make it totally smooth, but it is moving in that way so that it will be for the good of everyone and the best for our planet. So that's underway. So now, I know we've covered a lot of ground today. I hope this has been helpful. A little feedback is always welcome. If you want to give me a little comments and anything you think was not okay or you'd like to see more of, I will definitely take that carefully into consideration on the chat. You can do it. And I'll leave this on a little bit after so you can do that. We'd like to just remind you this. We do have our website, livethefuturenow.com, which is where people can sign up for Galactic News. So if you'd like to have friends that you want to tell them about this, you can have them go to that website, and there's a place where you sign up. It's free. But of course, we do appreciate your donations. We have been getting some donations. We would love to have more. It does cost money to do this, and we'd like to be able to continue to do it. It's a challenge for a lot of reasons, and primarily my time. Someone had asked me about my book. I am doing my best to work on it, and there is a lot of other things I have to attend to constantly. So I have not made as much progress as I would have liked, but I will continue to work on it and get it out to you as soon as possible. It's going to be a hummer. I think it's going to be fabulous, better than the first one. And I'm going to be doing a lot to clarify what the fifth dimension is about, how we can bring that energy into our world, and what that will look like when it is happening. So we also have, of course, our Facebook group, which is Live the Future Now Galactic News.
It's the initials. LTFN.
The LTFN Galactic News. That is the Facebook discussion group. You can sign in and be part of the ongoing information that people are sharing. It's very useful. Some of it's wonderful.
Mark Lurch facilitates.
Yeah, Mark Lurch, God, thank you, Mark, so much, is facilitating that, doing an excellent job. Right. And we really appreciate his support on that one. And we will continue to vision, live in that future that we know we are moving into, and will never rest until that is complete. And it is on its way, inevitably, inexorably, and you will see it in your lives. So God bless. Thank you for being with us, and much love to everyone.
Bye, everyone. Best wishes. Happy holidays, too.
Okay. Blessings. Yes, so the link for the group and for the website is up on the chat right now. Ginger put it up there. Thank you, Ginger. And we will continue to love and appreciate you all. You know, this is the time of spiritual warriorship. We have to prove that we are strong enough and powerful enough to remain loving, compassionate, and dispassionate, and powerful and strong in the light and in the love. regardless of what's happening around us. This is our greatest contribution that we can make to the unfoldment of this vision for our world and for all humanity. So thank you, and have a blessed Christmas, and may you, and Hanukkah and all other holidays, Kwanzaa and everything else, and may you enjoy the most fabulous new year you have ever experienced in your entire multiple incarnations. Blessings.